Real Madrid fans are flying high, unbeaten in the Champions League and on top of the table in La Liga. However, for Barca fans, there's a sense of uncertainty. We haven't had the same quality in our performances lately. Key injuries to players such as Rafinha, Lewandowski, John Garcia, Dani Olmo and Gavi have definitely hurt our confidence. So the big question is, can Barca actually travel to Madrid and defeat Real Madrid at Santiago Bernabéu? Well, I have watched many Real Madrid games. I have tried my best to understand what they do, how they play, and the ways Barca can look to beat them. Before we dive in, let's remember that El Clásicos are not decided on paper, but by details. Let's break them down. Under Ancelotti, the players often had a lot of freedom to express themselves. That was the main thing about his coaching style. However, the way I see it, two issues appeared, and Ancelotti struggled to figure it out. So first of all, they lost Toni Kroos, the player who essentially organized their play. Secondly, they added Mbappe to the team. Now, Mbappe is obviously one of the best players in the world, if not the best right now, but it was a matter of balance. Balance in the sense that Mbappe and Vinicius occupied the same spaces, and there was an inability to apply effective pressure. This is what Xabi Alonso has looked to change. We are now witnessing Real Madrid with a much clearer structure. In build-up, they often maintain a 3-1 shape, 3 players in the back line and 1 defensive midfielder. They play out from the back in a 4-2-4 and switch to a 3-2-5 if opponents are played deep. In other words, they're more positionally sound, which leads to one thing: better defending off the ball. But how exactly has that pressure improved? And why are they so difficult to play against right now? Real Madrid's collective pressure is much better this season compared to the last one. No team has completed more tackles in the final third so far. Let's just say that wasn't the case 1 year ago. They are far more aggressive, where even the superstars are asked to do a better job defensively. But most importantly, the distances between the Real Madrid players have gotten better. When in a 3-2-5 shape, they are closer to each other, closer to the ball, and can therefore recover it quicker. While in the past there was often a lot of distance between the players because they had the freedom to organize themselves, now they need to follow stricter rules. Rules implemented by Xabi Alonso. When the opponent has the ball, Real Madrid often defend man-to-man. Last season, they would often go for a passive 4-4-2, where Barca found it easy to play through the gaps because the front two was often Vinicius and Mbappe. Now they focus more on committing numbers in more of a all-or-nothing approach. Either they press with all they got, or they don't press at all. But all systems come with risk. I think I've spotted one weakness that Barca should look to target in our game against them. Where do Real Madrid players leave space? That's a question we must ask. What I've noticed is that the midfielders, even someone like Tchouaméni, push into the final third trying to pressure the opponents. Even their fullbacks enter the final third, press aggressively. I think this is something that Barca can look to take advantage of. Instead of playing into their pressure, we can drop our wingers deeper in build-up. What happens then is that their fullbacks will follow, which leaves space that we can exploit. How? One key profile: Rashford. I think he can achieve this by curving his run from a striker position to enter the space. He has the pace to beat Real Madrid defenders and the physical strength to shield the ball. It's in these very moments that one thing becomes even more important, and that is decision making. I would even argue that the game will be defined by it. If we somehow enter the final third and gain territory from Rashford, we need to make sure that he makes the right decisions. Sometimes he should go for goal because Real Madrid leave space in and around their defense, but other times he must slow down and allow the team to move forward. That way, we can start dominating possession in Real Madrid's own third, which is fundamental. Like, many ask, how can we avoid Real Madrid exploiting our high defensive line, as we have seen so many times from opponents this season? Well, the answer to that is longer build-ups. Keep the ball away from our high defensive line and use it as the tool it's supposed to be. It's supposed to minimize distances between our players and allow us to recover the ball quickly when it's lost. And to do so, we need settled attacks and a nice shape. A structure where the distances between the players is correct. Barca's best quality is when we have the ball. That is what our players are designed for. And I would argue that our midfielders in Pedri and Frenkie have a strong advantage over Real Madrid's midfielders here. They're better at dictating rhythm and circulating possession. Unfortunately, if it becomes a game of turnovers, we are going to lose. I also want to dedicate the final part talking about how we should defend against Mbappe and what we have to focus on to prevent them from hurting us. Now, Xabi Alonso actually uses him similar to what we saw with Benzema in his prime. His job is to find spaces where he can receive the ball during the build-up, where we actually see him drift across multiple areas of the pitch. I also noticed that he tends to position himself on the right centre-back, and there are some key movements we must follow. The first thing is diagonal balls from the right back, whether it's Valverde or Trent. They have the passing range to access most areas of the pitch. They will look to play him through in behind the right centre-back and right full-back, where Mbappe is absolutely lethal. Barca must constantly put them under pressure. We can't allow them to hit such balls. The second detail is a decoy run he tends to make. He pretends to run in behind the defense before suddenly switching direction. In doing so, he drops deep to collect the ball. If we allow him to turn, him and Vinicius will cause chaos. With all this said and done, can Barca actually win the game? Yes, we can. But let's be honest, Real Madrid are favourites based on current form. It won't be the end of the world if we end up losing either. We won every El Clásico last season, which is rare. Still, we can win. We have the quality, and in football, there's a lot of randomness that affects the result. Barca must make sure to leverage strength within the team. I think our patience on the ball will be absolutely fundamental. That's the main aspect in which we are better than Real Madrid, in my opinion. We just need to be fluid and active in how we build and have an intentional game plan. Let me know what you think. Do you think that Barca can defeat Real Madrid, or do you feel like all hope is lost?